nothing's enforceable, it seems like.
But nothing's perfect either, right?
Yeah.
Just think about that, Elif. That's a fair concern. But I think that concern is so small relative to, or no, I don't think that's any more of a concern for me, say, than going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, going to the radio station. I mean, you are intermingling with people. Does an Uber seem sufficiently unsafe to you that you don't want to get in the Uber?
Yeah, I haven't been in one since March.
Yeah.
And the reason is that the last straw was when the driver not wearing a mask, because before that, we didn't really know that that was a thing yet.
Yeah.
He coughed, and I'm sitting 2 feet away from him.
I think, though, that the germs in a cough, let's just say you're sharing air, right? Nobody's coughing. The virus does settle, right? It goes to the ground. Dr. Kevin Most is going to say hi to us at 11:45 this morning, by the way, a little more than an hour from now. Kevin Most, Chief Medical Officer at Northwestern Medicine Central DuPage Hospital. He is the Dr. Fauci of our fair city. And we haven't seen much Fauci lately, have we? And
he was on Good Morning America today.
I saw his face as I was walking by his screen. His hair seems whiter. He's done what Barack Obama did in his last year of his presidency. He got older. But
walking with a stoop.
Dr. Most is going to join us. And the big question today is something that came up yesterday, which Bob Surratt addressed earlier, the transmissibility of it via the hands. There was it a WHO or CDC person who said that virtually doesn't happen. You don't get it from touch. And then they sort of backed off of that, right, Steve?
Well, there was the asymptomatic kerfuffle earlier this week.
Me.
Yeah.
So the asymptomatic kerfuffle. I will ask him about the transmissibility, touch versus airborne, because talk about how your views on this change. I was so wrapped up in the touch at first. I mean, just washing hands. There were a couple of days where I took my clothes off when I got home. And then, we threw them in the wash and then we burned them. And, I changed my clothes. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. But I am very, very cognizant now about the breath thing. This is Janine. Stay there, Ryan. I'm getting to you. Janine, you're on WGN. What can we do for you?
Morning, John. I wanted to know what you would think if you already had the COVID. I have had it, and I survived. My husband did, too. If you had it, would you still be wearing your mask and your gloves and your social distancing, or would you kind of feel like, hey, I'm free. I can do whatever I want?
I would feel a lot more liberated, that's for sure.
And we go out to the stores and whatnot, and we want to just be free. We wish there was some way we could get off the mask, get everything back to normal. And it feels really good knowing that you had it and you didn't die.
And hopefully that you won't get it anytime soon. That's still up for grabs. But that's why I wish I had. If I found out I had an antibody, I would click my heels. Hooray! Now I feel more immune. How bad was it for your family?
We had it early. We had it in March, and I had a low-grade fever and a cough for 3 weeks before.
Janine, hold on one second if you don't mind. It's almost 10:30. I need to take a quick break. I want Steve to do the news at 10:30. Let's you and I finish this conversation. I'm really intrigued about how good it is and how bad it is. This might be a how bad it isn't conversation, but let's finish that after a quick break for news.
The party may be postponed, but pride shines through in June. Jewel Osco celebrates the resilience, determination, and strength of the LGBT plus communities and all of us. Visit WGNradio.com/pride. Take a virtual tour of Pride history, hopes, and plans for the summer celebrations modified by pandemic. Now more than ever, we can all relate to the path forward through adversity and challenge that gave birth to Pride, that we really are all in this together. Jewel Osco, local since 1899.
In the past few months, we've discovered that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. From burly first responders to the petite nurse working extra shifts, there have been people from all walks of life coming up as superheroes wearing everything from deli aprons to tech coats to bright orange safety vests. Whatever job they're doing, we take great pride in the way Jewel Osco people stepped up to provide essential services during these challenging times. We're all in this together.
It's been 65 years since Blaine's Farm and Fleet opened its doors, supplying feed, farm supplies, hardware, and auto parts at low prices to our customers. Today, we continue these traditions, offering brand name products at everyday low prices, like Sakrete high-strength concrete mix. 60-pound bags are 4 for $10. Stay protected with an auto-darkening welding helmet from KT, available in a variety of styles. Your choice, $59.99. Save $30 on brake controllers from Hopkins. Take $3 off Farm and Fleet Gold automotive batteries, just $76.99 after sale and exchange. Plus, save on these great doorbuster deals. Farm and Fleet 15W40 diesel oil, a 5-gallon pail, just $34.99. Pick up a Graco Magnum X5 paint sprayer. It's $249.99. And that's genuine value from Blaine's Farm and Fleet, the original, authentic, still family-owned since 1955.
The Zale table from Penny Mustard reminds me of a giant chess piece.
Ooh, I love to play chess. Where are the dice?
The Zale table is so majestic.
King me.
Sophisticrafted from fine Wisconsin hardwood with your choice of finish and stain.
Go fish.
Wait, I thought you said you played chess.
I said I love to play. I never said I knew how to play.
The Zale 60-inch round table starting at $29.07, paired with Rachel chairs starting at $5.75 each from Penny Mustard.
6 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Uno.
I want to meet those people.
Radio Chicago, WGN.
I'm kind of a fan of the Penny Mustard team. The same way I wanted to meet the antique lady, I want to meet the Penny Mustard people. I think they're just delightful. Be sure to check out the CB app or hit up Facebook. Tell Chicago's Best TV where you like to eat. Watch Chicago's Best. That's Sundays at 10:30 on WGN TV. You may be Chicago's Best. News in 30 seconds. Need new windows or doors? Call the company recommended by Lou Manfredini. Call Gilkey Windows. Gilkey manufactures the highest quality vinyl and fiberglass windows in an endless variety of styles and colors. Right now, take $1,000 off 5 or more windows, $2,500 off 10 or more windows, and $700 off patio and entry doors, or no money down and no interest for 12 months. Visit their showrooms in Chicago Ridge Monday through Saturday, or Palatine all week, including Sunday 10 to 4. Visit Gilkey.com. Call 1-888-3-GILKEY.
It is 76 degrees at 10:30. Good morning. I'm Steve Bertrand. The Chicago FOP says it will punish officers who show solidarity with protesters. First, a look at traffic. Here's Mary Vandeveld.
Troubled spots on 8094. Traffic is sponsored by the Associated Press. We have flooded areas westbound on 8094 between Chase and the Illinois-Indiana state line, eastbound between 294 and Klein, and accident also with that at Broadway. In Mettawa, power lines are down, Bradley and Old School. Otherwise, the expressways and tollways are moving along just fine. Keep in mind that tonight, the inbound Eisenhower ramp to the outbound Kennedy will be closing at 8 o'clock for part of the Jane Byrne Interchange project. That closure will be in effect for 4 months. Ground Game is the latest podcast from the Associated Press, hosted by AP's Julie Pace. Ground Game discusses election strategy all through primary season. Don't download it wherever you get your podcasts. Mary Vandeveld, WGN Traffic Central.
The forecast from the Permaseal Weather Center, partly sunny today. Still maybe a shower storm around, breezy, high 82. Tonight, a 30% chance of an evening shower or storm, and then the clouds decrease overnight, low 58. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and breezy, and a high of 81. 76 right now at O'Hare, 71 at Midway, 69 degrees at Chicago's lakefront. The Chicago FOP says it will punish officers who kneel or otherwise show solidarity with protesters. The president tells WGN's Bob Surratt they could be kicked out of the union. It appears President Trump will accept the Republican Party's nomination for another term in Jacksonville, Florida, not North Carolina. The Washington Post says the Republican Party chose the Florida city after North Carolina's governor refused to relax social distancing guidelines so it could be done in Charlotte as originally planned. And the virus crisis has triggered the worst global recession in nearly a century. That's according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, as hundreds of millions of people have lost their jobs. Your money on WGN. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 226 points, the NASDAQ up 50, and the S&P 500 down 12. I'm Steve Bertrand on Chicago's very own 720 WGN.
I know. Thank you, Steve. compelling newscast there. I heard all of it.
I can tell you were really riveted.
Actually, to be honest with you, I was just talking to producer Elif and said, ask producer Joe, who does Bob Surratt's show, to get me some of the audio of that interview that he did with the Fraternal Order of Police.
It was a pretty remarkable interview.
It was, and it, in fact, went much longer than it would have normally gone. Bob's always trying to manage the clock like the rest of us, but he just couldn't stop this conversation. So it went well past 9 o'clock, as it should have, because if somebody's going to say that, you want to make sure you heard them correctly. And it was unusual to hear Bob Surratt in a flat-out argument with someone on the radio, but he was. In fact, I just got a text prior to your newscast from somebody saying, I wonder if you might talk about what the FOP president said today. So Joe's going to get us an audio clip of it, and I'll play it back for you, I guess. But first of all, do they have the... they can't kick him out of the... They can't make a police officer lose his job.
They can kick him out of the union. So I don't know what that would mean, honestly, John.
Because it's a union contract, right? I mean, you
So if he's not a union member, he might be precluded from having a union job.
Right. I'm wondering what the consequence of that would be. And is that just bluster? I mean, sometimes this is true with the NEA or the IBEW or the FOP. This is what happens to unions. Sometimes you got a guy that rallies the troops and you get the contract and it's full speed ahead, and then they keep doing that when they need to shut up, when they need to stop talking that way and speak more sensibly. You can have two versions of you. What are you talking about?
I mean, are you going to play a longer clip? Because I do have some of it here if you're interested.
I do want to hear what you've got.
All right, well, this is, and it is John Catanzara. So he's relatively new as the president of the FOP. Oh, it's not playing, John. Just give me a second here. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But he was talking about whether, because there have been some really touching scenes, I think, in other cities where officers have, held the ground, but also kneeled with the protesters and things such as that. He said he would have none of that here.
Any member of Lodge 7 who is going to take a knee and basically side with protesters while they're in uniform will subject themselves to discipline in the lodge, up to and including expulsion from Lodge 7.
Okay, fine. That's what that's when Surratt really just kind of drilled down. We'll finish this conversation now. I'll go back to it later on. But when I saw the police officers, when I saw the police officers taking a knee, I appreciated how compromising that might appear to them and their brothers and their cause, which is keeping the peace, right? Like, why are we capitulating to the mob? But that's not what they were doing, right? It's the same thing with Colin Kaepernick. You need to try and appreciate what the message is, regardless of what it looks like to you. And in their case, they were saying, we understand how George Floyd's death was a tragedy, and we don't want that to happen either. I mean, that's what the knee is representing. So if the cops do that, and then, by the way, usually when they do, the protesters applaud them and give them snacks.
Well, I was going to say, it's pretty effective. Well, I don't know if it's effective, but it seems to be a pretty moving way to help keep the peace.
I couldn't agree with you more on that, even though it at a glance looks awkward. More about that a little later on. Phil Vattel's the restaurant critic at the Tribune. He's going to join us after we let Janine finish her conversation very quickly, because Janine told us that she and her husband and, son, have had the virus. Is that right, Janine?
Right, yes. So you were asking how we had it, and I had it pretty mild. I just had a fever and a cough for a few weeks. My husband had it worse. He lost his sense of smell really bad. He actually was in the hospital for a couple days. And my son, who we were most worried about because he's a type 1 diabetic, he only knew he had it because he got tested because we had it.
Isn't that amazing?
So with the three of us, we're sick of it. We want to go back and do things as normal. In fact, a couple weeks ago, before Illinois started opening things, we ran up to Wisconsin to do some shopping. And up there, you have a choice if you want to wear a mask or not. And the people who were not, the people who were wearing masks, they were looking at us like we were like piranhas or something,
I
walking
understand
around
that.
without them.
Well, because there's two reasons somebody might not be, and you were the second reason, and we almost need to get you guys bracelets.
Exactly. Something that says I survived COVID and leave me alone.
Yeah, and serve me my drink.
Yes.
That's such an interesting story. Janine, thanks for holding. I'm glad you sound well and that your family's recovered.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Phil Vattel's the restaurant critic at the Chicago Tribune. Hi, Phil. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Your family's well?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
What's the matter?
It's a longer story than you want to deal with right now.
Well, don't tell it if you don't want. I hope it's not a COVID-related story.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, I'm still sorry, whatever it is that's been bothering you.
Yeah. No, it's like, as long as it's not COVID, it's like, phew, I'm like, yeah.
Well, that was the case of Dick Johnson in a way. His loss just so young, and he'd battled so long and so silently for so many of us. And then you find out that he's passed away, and you ask yourself, oh, I hope it's not COVID. That's kind of a marginal consolation, right? If a person's passed, it's passed. But anytime anybody is sick or anytime somebody dies these days, you wonder if it is a result of that dread disease. In his case,
right.
It's not.
And particularly, you're talking about someone whose job put him out in the public, and so might have put him at more risk.
Right.
So they're just, I hope that doing his job didn't do this to him.
Yeah, and then you find out it wasn't, but you're still at the same point where you began with. It's just so sad.
He had gone to his Michigan home to escape COVID.
Yeah. And did
because
not.
He already had an issue.
Well, he had a respiratory issue. The family has said that his passing was not as a result of COVID. He had been battling this for a while. Let's talk a little bit about the restaurant scene. Phil, what's the elevator speech, if you will, from you? How are the restaurants doing in Chicago?
They are doing their best. A lot of restaurants are gearing up for or have already opened for outdoor seating. The Loyalist over on Ada Street is opening its first sidewalk cafe, I guess you'll basically call it, today. Loyalist best known for their burgers and other small plates kind of dishes, and they're kind of taking a French bistro sidewalk cafe approach to their new iteration with a slightly different menu. But restaurants are, this is what they do. They cook, they serve. They're doing the best they can within the limits of what they're allowed to do.
What's your thought about the cocktails to go ordinance that the city is? I don't think they've finished it yet. I read all of the caveats. It's so Chicago. Yeah. It's the sticker, the tag with the details on the drink is just dumb. But anyway.
Yeah, it's months overdue, and not terribly surprising. They're kind of overthinking this.
Yes.
But they, that's what those in charge do. They're dotting I's, crossing T's. I understand they're wanting to be sure they don't do anything wrong, but because bars are terribly hurt because there's no real prospects for bars reopening, even though they may be permitted to. I mean, who's going to a bar? Who's going to do social distancing up and down a bar? I mean, a lot easier to get the bartender's attention.
Well, that's what Lori Lightfoot said. She said that's why she's playing hardball with the bars. She goes, I know what it's like in a bar. You gather in groups and you share the same air.
Right.
And by the way, Phil, I think plenty of people are willing to do that. Lori doesn't want to let them. Plenty of people are willing to. Frankly, they're already doing that.
I think the mayor has a reasonable suspicion that they won't maintain social distancing once it starts, even if they say they will. And then you're putting on who's the enforcing? Where's the enforcement now? You're going to make bartenders do their own police patrolling and saying, "Hey, you step away from that person."
Right.
It's just difficult on them. And throughout all this, they have not been able to take advantage of any kind of to-go service except for carry-out sealed bottles.
Yeah.
On which their margins are very, very small.
Well, that's what gets you back to the cocktails. So, I mean, there's a better margin on and a sometimes bigger interest in cocktails because some places, you know this as well as anybody in town, have signature drinks that people really do desire and they want to help the joint. So you make me that special Manhattan or martini or whatever it is that you make and I'll have it delivered or I'll take it home to go. I ask you this, Phil. Do you think that after we get through this COVID crisis, and we're at stage 4 or stage 5, I wonder if that will remain. Should it remain? Cocktails to go? Answer that in a minute. This is WGN.
Grandview buys homes. Hi, I'm Tom Detlich with Grandview Homes. Many home sellers are asking, in these difficult times, will Grandview still buy my home? I'm here to tell you the answer is absolutely yes. We will buy your home today. For the second time in 12 years, the real estate market is entering troubled times. The Great Recession a decade ago proved to be the worst residential real estate market since the Great Depression. Grandview Homes was buying homes back then and in growing numbers ever since. We can only guess how the crisis we face today will affect the real estate market in the months and years ahead. But here's what I can tell you. We are the largest direct home buyer in Chicagoland for a reason. We don't come and go with the times. We are here to stay. Grandview is committed to buy your home today no matter what the market is doing. If you want to sell your home but are concerned about its value today or what it will be tomorrow, call us for a fair cash offer now. Put your mind at ease and leave the stress and the mess to us. Visit us at grandviewhomes.com.
There's no doubt about the following things. The weather is getting better. Today notwithstanding, it's been getting warmer and sunnier. We got a nice 10 days ahead of us, according to the sunballs on my cell phone that I look at about every 10 minutes. And we're going to get through this pandemic together, and your knee's not going to get better on its own. You can bank on those 3 things. I want you to go to the Joint Relief Institute if you've got knee pain. You could have, you should have last week, last month, a year ago, and you can go there now. They're an essential business, and fighting that knee pain is essential to your mental and physical well-being. When you go to the Joint Relief Institute, they use digital imaging to see where your knee's lost its tissue. They put the lubricant in there. It's the Jiffy Lube for your joints, and it works. It's a pain-free, I mean zero pain, very quick procedure. Some folks leave their cars running. I'm not making that up in the winter. And I'll bet your insurance is going to pay for it. So it's a first free visit. Visit jointreliefinstitute.com or call 708-888-0000, 708-888-0000, as in zero pain. Restaurant critic for the Chicago Tribune is Phil Vitale. You think they're going to keep cocktails to go when the COVID crisis goes away, Phil?
I'm thinking, why not? I mean, it seemed like a kind of a cool idea. If I want to have drinks at home, or if I'm going to have a few people over for drinks, imagine being able to get some, some Kamiko cocktails, crafted by Julia Momose, and say, instead of just, I can put together a gin and tonic pretty efficiently. I'll say that, but I can't do what she does, and that would be kind of cool to be able to get batched cocktails made by a truly skilled mixologist and be able to serve that at home or enjoy by myself in my hammock, whatever.
I go by your front yard and you're swinging out there with some $19 martini.
Right. Or a Bob Chin Mai Tai, whatever, But yeah, I'm allowed to take anything on a menu at any restaurant, theoretically, I can have to carry out and take home and enjoy at home. But I can't do that with cocktails, although I'm free to buy a case of Jack Daniels and do that.
Well, a lady called in the other day, a woman from Connecticut writes, she said, I went to the restaurant and I was able to order the martini that I really wanted to go, but they put it in a styrofoam coffee cup.
No!
Wah, wah. Travel as well. What's the best meal you've had lately, Phil Vitale, restaurant critic?
Actually, lately I've been furloughed, as you know, and then on vacation, and I haven't been out to eat in a couple of weeks.
You are doing this on your dime, then. The Tribune isn't paying you this week, right?
Well, it's that. Not only that, but the understanding is the thing is, if you're on, I'm back to work this week. But last week, a furloughed week, is you don't do work during that furlough. That's the way it was negotiated.
I understand.
So I'm not even supposed to be answering my company email or anything like that during that week. I am gone.
And as I think you should be, right? I mean, we should vacation that way. And by the way, if the man's not going to pay you, then you should not work. That's that's not even an angry statement. That's just fair. So
Right. If I'm taking a volunteer, if I'm agreeing to take a week off without pay, then it needs to be a week off work without pay.
All right, I'm going to let you go, Phil. Then go back and eat some food.
I will.
Have some craft cocktails. You know what you should do for us, though, next week, Phil? Here I am giving you an assignment, and I don't pay you for this. I want you to give me...
A lot of that going around right now.
I want you to give me a list of some of the best cocktails that we should get to go in the city. And it could just be a Manhattan from someplace, or maybe something I've never heard of from someplace else. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be way fun.
All right. Well, do your homework, and if you're game, I'll talk to you again next Wednesday, my friend.
All right.
Phil Vitale, you betcha, writes about the dining scene, chicagotribune.com/dining. Hey, Joe, I understand you're a third-generation cop. Is that right?
Yes, sir, I am. How are you?
Good. I'm going to play a clip from Bob Surratt's show. Why don't you tell me what you think about this, and then also just tell me why you called in. I think it's about the same thing. Earlier today, I forget the name now. Steve Bertrand, are you still paying attention in the newsroom?
Sure.
The name of Bob Surratt's guest this morning?
John Catanzara, who is the president of the FOP.
Here's part of his conversation with our Bob Surratt.
I've made it very clear to the members of Lodge 7 that has no place for our members. That is contradicting to our Constitution as a lodge, and it definitely deflates anything remotely associated with fraternalism. And as such, any member of Lodge 7 who is going to take a knee and basically side with protesters while they're in uniform will subject themselves to discipline in the lodge, up to and including expulsion from Lodge 7.
So you would argue as somebody who is siding for justice and fairness for all?
What you do on your time is your time. When you're doing it in a uniform, you are representing the police department, and as such, you are representing yourself as a member of Lodge 7. So, yes.
Just getting up off the floor, and there's my microphone. It's 10:50, as heard earlier this morning on WGN. Joe, thanks for calling in. What did you want to say about that?
Well, I also heard the vice president of the FOP say that 99% of police officers are good people, and I believe that to be true because I was on the job and I never abused my power as a police officer. My father would always say, look, you don't know how you're going to react in any situation until that situation comes about. I'm not so sure about the kneeling, whether it's on a football field or whether it's as an FOP member. I'm not sure about that. I have mixed emotions about that, but I can tell you this. People need to be responsible for themselves, and they need to be responsible for their children. And I don't see that in our country. I see kids going out and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So where are the parents? Where's the responsibility of the parents that are involved with all these children? I'll hang up and listen to you, John. I listen to you every day.
You're a good man, Joe, and thanks for you. What is it, your son and your dad, or your dad and your dad's dad? You're a third generation, I understand, policeman. So I guess that would make your dad and your dad's dad cops as well. And thank you for that. I think 99% is about the right number. And I think, like Bob Surratt said earlier this morning, we're talking about two different things. Your question about who's raising these kids haunts us all. That's not what Bob was asking about. He said, what's so bad about taking a knee in solidarity of peace and justice? But so help me, the FOP president said, no, you do not do that. Whew. Hey, Diane, you're on WGN. What's on your mind?
Yes, I had listened to the police person this morning, and I think that we finally are hearing some truth in this city about arrests and why people are arrested. If your police officer comes to your car and tells you to get out of the car, then you should do what he tells you. He's the law. If you're going to give him a hard time, he's going to get that way too. And why is everybody arresting black people? Go on the South Side on the weekend and see who's shooting each other in the head. I mean, he is at least telling it like it is. And there are many people, radio personalities too, that are not facing reality of this whole situation. And that's what I have to say.
Diane, I appreciate your listening. I appreciate your phone call. Still think we're talking about two different things here. If you just heard do you have that clip again, Elif? Just play this clip again from Bob Surratt's show earlier this morning.
I've made it very clear to the members of Lodge 7 that has no place for our members. That is contradicting to our Constitution as a lodge, and it definitely deflates anything remotely associated with fraternalism. And as such, any member of Lodge 7 who is going to take a knee and basically side with protesters while they're in uniform will subject themselves to discipline in the lodge, up to and including expulsion from Lodge 7.
So you would argue as somebody who is siding for justice and fairness for all?
What you do on your time is your time. When you're doing it in a uniform, you are representing the police department, and as such, you are representing yourself as a member of Lodge 7. So, yes.
I just think that's you want to talk about a little reality check? That's if people committing crime is a problem, that's also a problem. The protesters are saying, let's treat people equally, let's treat people fairly. You can talk about the rioters and the looters and the people that commit crime. That's not what Bob was asking about. What about the people that are protesting and saying, let's treat people fairly, let's have justice, let's not be shooting each other, let's not be choking people that don't need to be choked. So if I take a knee, this is the Colin Kaepernick conversation all over again, because you don't like how it looks, but that's what it's trying to say. How can you be against that? How can you be against that?
Has there been a case where the FOP has said, yeah, this was a bad actor? This was a bad thing this officer did? I can't think of one offhand. I'm not saying there haven't been. I'm
thinking of Jason Van Dyke right now. And at first they said nothing. For a year they said nothing. Jason Van Dyke is actually the poster child of how the FOP fails us, how the police department fails us. I don't know the answer to that. Line 1, Gary, you're on WGN. What do you want to say, Gary? Hi. Hey, Gary.
Hello, how are we doing?
Good. We're doing as good as we can do. What's on your mind?
Yes, you're talking about, good cops and bad cops. And my comment is this. Let's say you have 100 cops in all, and 10% or 10 of those 100 are the quote-unquote bad cops. But another 40% or 40 other cops know that those bad cops are doing bad things but aren't saying anything. You now have 50 bad cops in my mind's eye because they're not standing up and saying what they should be saying to get rid of the bad cops.
That is Gary. Thanks for the call, Gary. We're out of time, but so help me, somebody texted something very similar to that yesterday. They said 1,001. 1,000 cops, one's bad. If nobody says anything and they know, then you have 1,000 bad cops. And you don't. But we need to empower those other police officers when 3 of them are on top of one person to say to the 4th person, hey, we need to let him up. It's 10:57. Elif said take a break. We will. This is WGN.
Radio Chicago. This is AM 720.
WGN.
This is the required weekly test of the emergency alert system. This has been a test of the emergency alert system on 720 WGN Chicago.
Grandma, delicious. No one makes borscht like you.
Thanks, you Junior. Now use phone and take picture of Grandma.
Okay, why?
So you remember Grandma when she famous and move away.
Wait, move?
Grandma want to share secret Lithuanian dishes on Interpol cooking show.
Excuse me?
What people's watch on computer.
Oh, you mean internet, social media?
Yeah, but Grandma no nice kitchen, so need move to big, beautiful kitchen.
Grandma, don't move. Talk to First American Bank.
First American Bank?
Yeah, with First American, you can update your kitchen with a home equity loan or home equity line of credit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, First American has the best loan deals in town with First American's help.
Oh, thanks, Junior. Grandma no forget you when she is big UB2B star.
Thanks, Grandma.
First American does more for your money. Visit firstambank.com. Call us at 847-952-3700. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
MegaPros has been the safest, cleanest resource for your home repairs and improvements for over 43 years. MegaPros want to help in any way you need. Questions or resources, fast and friendly. Yes, we can help. Call 847-658-8989 or go to megapros.com.
I've got a MegaPros hoodie. You can get one too when you listen Monday mornings. We do a Music Madness Monday morning mega quiz. And you can win a mega hoodie. They're good folks. Right now, it's important to have your home properly cleaned. Your carpets, your rugs, your floors, your tile, your upholstery. Get Executive Green Carpet Cleaning on the job. They do it better than anybody else. They've got the premier equipment that no other carpet cleaner in Chicagoland has. Executive Green Carpet Cleaning uses ultra-purified water with a safe detergent-free pre-spray. They never apply harsh chemicals that leave residue behind. Most importantly, they thoroughly scrub and agitate your carpet. It's a step that other companies neglect. They'll leave your carpet with a nice, even-looking finish that is dry to the touch in just a couple of hours. For every single job, they use this system. It's really important. They never take shortcuts. Call now. Get 3 rooms done for $139. If you're not satisfied, you don't pay. You'll be satisfied. 630-990-8600. 630-990-8600. Visit ExecutiveGreenCarpetCleaning.com.
Serving the great Midwest from Chicago, this is WGN at AM 720 on your radio and on smart devices anywhere just by saying play WGN Radio on TuneIn.
WGN Chicago.
A Nexstar Media Group station.
It is 78 degrees at 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Steve Bertrand. The news is sponsored by Gilkey Window Company. The FOP says it will discipline officers who kneel with protesters. On Wall Street, the markets are mixed so far today. First, a look at traffic. Here's Mary Vandevelde.
All clear on most of the roadways except for 8094 with some flooded conditions there westbound between Chase and the Illinois-Indiana state line. Also eastbound between 294 and Klein on 294. The tri-state a car fire southbound at 75th. The 3 right lanes are blocked with that. In Mundelein, an accident. Town Line Road at Midlothian. Northbound I-65. The entrance ramp at 109th still closed until June 16th with road work. And also in Addison, an accident at Army Trail and Swift. I'm Mary Vandeveld from the IDOT Traffic Center, reminding you to drive responsibly. It really is a matter of life or death.
The forecast from the WGN Chicago Weather Center, meteorologist Mike Hansen.
We're not done with the wet weather yet. Still a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms as we go through the rest of today. Under partly sunny skies, we're looking at breezy south-southwest winds that could gust upwards of 30 miles per hour. Highs today in the lower 80s. Still a chance for some spotty showers and storms for a while this evening, then clouds decrease overnight with temperatures falling into the upper 50s. Mostly sunny skies tomorrow with highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's going to be breezy once again in the afternoon when west winds could gust upwards of 30 miles per hour. Partly cloudy to mostly sunny here on Friday. Highs in the upper 70s inland but upper 60s at the lake. And then lots of sunshine this weekend, but cooler. Saturday, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 60s inland, lower 60s at the lake. Mostly sunny skies continue on Sunday with highs in the lower 70s inland, mid 60s at the lakefront. By Monday, we'll look for partly cloudy skies, inland highs in the upper 70s inland, but upper 60s at the lakefront. From the WGN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Mike Chan.
There were wind gusts in Munster, Indiana of 59 degrees earlier, 78 right now at O'Hare, 71 at Midway. It is 69 at Chicago's lakefront. Across the country, police officers have been joining peaceful protesters, but don't expect to see that happening here in Chicago. FOP President John Catanzara tells WGN's Bob Surratt.
Any member of Lodge 7 who is going to take a knee and basically side with protesters while they're in uniform will subject themselves to discipline in the lodge up to and including expulsion from Lodge 7.
You can hear the full interview at WGNradio.com. Navy Pier is reopening today, but not everyone's excited. The Ferris wheel will not be open, but several other restaurants and taverns that serve food will be. Tap rooms that don't serve food still are waiting to reopen. Chicago police are asking for the public's help in finding a missing 11-year-old girl.
Police say Jalila Sparks was last seen near 70th and Merrill in the Jackson Park neighborhood Tuesday afternoon. The 11-year-old is described as having dark complexion, brown eyes, black hair, wearing a multicolored shirt, blue jean shorts, and pink shoes. It's unclear if she was with anyone when she went missing. Anyone with information should contact Chicago police immediately. Ryan Burrow, WGN News.
Crane says Amsterdam-based JustEatTakeaway.com is in talks to buy Chicago-based Grubhub. The Dutch company is looking to launch itself in the U.S. and compete with Uber Eats. A tornado touched down yesterday in Gilman, downstate. WGN's Pam Jones following that.
A tornado touched down almost 90 miles south of Chicago in Gilman. Chicago and Midwest storm chasers at I-57 and the Ashcombe exit caught video of the tornado on camera. They say the tornado only lasted 2 to 5 minutes. There are no reports of damage. Pam Jones, WGN News.
And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says it was a mistake to keep former State Department Inspector General Steve Linick on board for as long as he did.
Steve Linick was a bad actor in the Inspector General office here. He didn't take on the mission of the State Department to make us better.
Pompeo said Linick did not get to the bottom of who leaked a confidential document that damaged the career of a department official. This comes after Linick told Congress last week that before he was ousted, he had informed at least 3 top aides to Pompeo that he was reviewing Pompeo's and his wife's use of government resources. Your money on WGN. Here's Orion Samuelson.
Still looking at red on the Wall Street screen on 2 of the 3 indices. The Dow Industrial Average at the moment down 136 points. The S&P 500 down 8 points. But the NASDAQ is still higher. It's up 43 points. Investors and traders are awaiting the conclusion of the regular 2-day meeting of the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee. And most investors are getting the feeling they'll not do anything about the interest rates at the moment. Meanwhile, Caterpillar has said that it will maintain its quarterly cash dividend of $1.03 per share of common stock. The board, though, has postponed any decision on the dividend increase until later this year. And looking at the Caterpillar stock at the moment, Caterpillar is trading down 94 cents a share. Grain prices, Chicago Board of Trade today. The July wheat contract is up 2 cents a bushel, but July corn is down 1 1.25 cents, and July soybeans up 2 1/4 cents. Not much movement in the prices of grains today. Chicago Mercantile Exchange livestock futures, June lean hog contract down 17 cents a hundredweight. The June live cattle contract is down just 5 cents a hundredweight, and the August feeder cattle contract down $1.35 a hundredweight. Price of increase revives worries about an oil glut. The Brent crude down 82 cents a barrel. U.S. crude down 96 cents a barrel. That's your money on 720 WGN.
78 degrees right now at O'Hare. I'm Steve Bertrand on Chicago's very own 720 WGN.
Gear up for summer with help from your neighbors at Blaine's Farm and Fleet. We've got the supplies you need to get the job done, along with knowledgeable associates to answer your questions and provide you with helpful tips for whatever your project. Like grade 2 hex bolts, nuts, and washers, $1.79 a pound. Get a 100-gallon L-shaped steel liquid transfer tank from Apex. It's $349.99. Stock up on 6-foot by 6-inch red top T-posts from Chicago Heights Steel. They're $499. Pick up a utility gate from Balin, on sale $49.99. And keep weeds down with Barrier year-long vegetation killer from PBI Gordon, just $34.99 a gallon. Plus, save on these great doorbuster deals. Farm and Fleet 15W40 diesel oil. A 5-gallon pail is $34.99, and men's and women's Levi's jeans just $35.70. That's genuine value from Blaine's Farm and Fleet. The original, authentic, still family-owned since 1955.
It's 11:07. This is WGN Radio. I'm just doing this today.
Feels like Sunday.
It's gonna.
Irresistible force such as you meets an old immovable object like me. You can bet as sure as you live. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give, something's gotta give.
We call this bumper music after we play a commercial set or the news, and then we play a little music and we bump with it. I don't think we bumped with Mel Torme in a very long time, and I'm doing that now because starting Sunday nights here on WGN Radio, we'll take a couple of hours, 2 hours Sunday nights starting at 9, and we're going to play some of the great songs again.
Somewhere, somehow, someone's gonna get kissed.
We're calling it Sunday Standards on WGN Radio. And maybe we could use a musical break in the summer in the city where there won't be much live music. WGN Radio is going to pump some out for you. Some of the great American singers and songs. Sunday nights from 9 to 11, I'll say Here Is, and then you'll hear Barbra Streisand and Tony Bennett and Mel Torme. And some more contemporary artists covering some of those great songs. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you do too. It's been featuring a little of it this morning. Sunday night at 9. Sunday night at 9. Tell your friends. I don't know what you're doing Sunday night at 9, but I'm going to be dancing. I don't know if Brenda's going to be dancing, but I'm going to be dancing. Let's finish our conversation we had before the news. And that was just talking a little bit about what the Fraternal Order of Police President said to Bob Surratt this morning. He said that the officers should not take a knee in solidarity with the protesters. He said, if you do, you'll be punished by the union, and that could include your expulsion from the union. What that means to your employment, I don't know. But it's clear what the union president is saying. He's one person, and he was elected by his membership. But I don't know how uniformly that view is held by the rest of the membership. I guess there's no way to know. But he's warning you, if you're a Chicago police officer, that you are not supposed to take a knee.
In uniform.
Affirmative. Yeah, maybe not a small point. Joe gave us one other clip, right, Elif, from that conversation with Bob. Give me a thumbs up when you've got that, and I'll take just a couple of calls here. Hey, Ann, you're on WGN. What did you want to say? You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm a retired 68 suburban white lady, and when Kaepernick took the knee, I was outraged too. How dare he defame the U.S.? But that was my coworkers before I retired. They educated me, and and I heard how troubled their life was just because they were black and they were also middle class. So when I see a policeman taking a knee now, you have to remember our nation is always under change. And I see the policeman taking a knee as saying, I'm going to help change the future. And that's where I stand. And I understand where the FOP commissioners come from, God bless them. But I think we have to change with the times now and say, either you're going to be part of the solution or you're going to be part of the problem. And I want to be part of the solution, and I will take a knee and stand with them. Because in the last 5 or 6 years, my eyes were really, I was just like, unbelievable. And I think in order to move forward, our nation has to move forward. And I think we can do so with brains and with bravery and all together.
That's pretty well put, Ann. You need to call in more often.
I'm a long-time listener. I can't wait until you have the songs on Sunday night. I love it.
Have a good day. I appreciate you joining us. Sunday night at 9. Kathleen, what do you want to say? You're on WGN.
Hi, John. Police officers all over the country have taken a knee or embraced protesters. It's been a way to diffuse tense situations during the protest, and it's proved to be effective. From Flint, Michigan, New York City, and Houston. So I find it disturbing and sad that the president of the FOP would say that. I also look forward to your Sunday night music because I love especially Chet Baker. So thank you.
Well, one last thing. Thanks, Kathleen. Do you agree? I think everybody says 99% of the cops are good. I think the number might even be higher than that. Is that your feeling too? Because if I was a police officer or a family member of a police officer, I would feel like I'm under fire here, figuratively. And I don't think we're saying that cops are bad. We're saying some cops are bad, and we're saying that we need to empower the departments or somebody to get them off the force or to change the way they interact with the community. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
I agree, John. I feel badly for anybody who's in law enforcement right now. It's a tremendous job. They're tasked with doing too much, from mental health to homelessness, and it's systemic. It truly is systemic because it's very difficult to remove bad cops, and then also it's difficult for one police officer to call out another police officer because you're trained to have your back. You know, it's like being in the military.
Yeah, well, think of what they go through. I mean, you better believe they're loyal to each other. Their lives depend on it. Kathleen, thanks for listening. You're a good caller.
Imagine.
I appreciate you joining us today. You bet. Hey, Patty, jump in there. What did you want to say?
I want to say that I agree that Black Lives Matter. I never took it to mean only Black Lives Matter, but I just can't kneel with the flag. I just can't.
Well, then we need to get you a sign that said, "I'm kneeling in my heart." But
yeah, that's it. I mean, when I put my flag out, I say the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, I love our flag, and to me, I'm 77 years old almost, so to me, you stand. But I do support, and I hope that our country gets better.
That's Patty, who just is a little older, and she can't take a knee. There's a commercial for the Joint Relief Institute in here somewhere, but maybe there isn't. It's 11:14. We'll pause here, and we'll come back to this topic another day. Unfortunately. Our friend Sam Panayotovich, who follows sports and sports wagering, just got back from Las Vegas. Have you heard what it's like in the casinos in Vegas? It's different. They don't have free food. People are distanced. How much fun is it, Sam, after this?
Your home is your castle, your refuge, your safe place.
Our job at 1-800-GOT-JUNK is to make junk disappear.
And we're good at it.
Your home will feel bigger.
And cleaner.
And you'll feel happier.
We promise.
Give us a call.
Or go to our website.
And your junk will magically disappear as our truck drives past your home.
Well, almost.
We'll be in and out before you can blink.
And our gloved professionals touch nothing except the things you want to disappear.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
With over 31,000 associates on the front lines, Jewel Osco has superheroes wearing everything from deli aprons and tech coats to bright orange safety vests. We take great pride in the way Jewel Osco people stepped up to provide essential services during these challenging times.
Hi, it's Lou Manfredini for the Gilkey Window Company. Did you know that Gilkey windows have been independently verified to be among the most energy efficient windows in the country? It's true. Gilkey windows eliminate the transmission of nearly all UV radiation. That makes a huge difference all year long, given Chicago's weather extremes. Right now, take $1,000 off 5 or more windows, $2,500 off 10 or more windows, and take $700 off patio and entry doors, or no money down and no interest for 12 months. Gilkey offers several options to help you. They'll come to your home, exercising safety measures, or you can visit their Chicago Ridge showroom, open Monday through Saturday, or in Palatine, even open Sundays 10 to 4. If new windows are on your list, give Gilkey a call now and schedule an appointment to get your home renovation underway. Call 1-888-3-GILKEY or visit Gilkey.com today. Choose vinyl or choose fiberglass. Just be sure to choose Gilkey.
The lady who's working hard to enrich your life is here weekdays 1 to 3 p.m. It's the Anna Devlanta Show on Chicago's very own WGN.
Yeah, that's Anna Devlantis, and she is doing that every day. After the Wintrust Business Lunch, I'll be there for that. By the way, we still haven't posted the picture. Elif, we got to do this. We got to do this today. Marlene Wells, who works here and has for half a century, came by today and said, I got to take your picture, John, for the new IDs we're wearing in the building. Then she paused and said, is your hair going to be like that? And I said, yeah, I'm not going to cut my hair until phase 5. And then she did what Marlene does, which is a look that you can't appreciate on the radio, but when you see it, you'll know it. And I said, yeah, this is going to be the deal. So she said, okay, I'll take your picture after your show. But we still haven't posted the picture of the rock and roll hairdo that Steve Bertrand had and the laced up one that he has now. The before and after, remarkable. I'm still in the before phase. We'll update those photos on our social media pages, WGN King John on Facebook and everywhere else. Hey, if you are looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing one, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local mortgage pros. Today, let's meet Sue and Tom, happily married, about to close on their first home. And then COVID-19 hits mid-March. Sue and Tom called David Hochberg because they were concerned about purchasing a home with so much uncertainty in the economy, and Dave answered their questions, assured them that Team Hochberg would cancel their loan if they did not feel comfortable buying at this time. He recommended that they talk it over, call him back the next morning. Sue and Tom called back the next morning and thanked David for honestly answering their questions and not pressuring them. They still went through with the purchase. If you want to buy a home and would like to work with a lender that will always look out for your best financial interest, especially during these uncertain economic times, Team Hochberg helped Sue and Tom. They'll help you. Call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. Listen to Home Sweet Home Chicago. It's hosted by David Saturdays at 10. Homeside Financial, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 1124061. 119 on WGN Radio. Sam Panayonovich follows sports and sports wagering. He's a frequent guest on our show. Hey, Sam, welcome back to Chicago. How are you?
It feels good to be back. Literally a week ago today, last Wednesday, it would have been June 3rd, I was standing on Fremont Street. I don't know if you've ever been. I know a lot of your listeners have. That's Old Vegas, downtown Vegas. I'm standing there at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I swear, not a soul in sight, not a body in sight, nobody moving through that famous Fremont Street pedway. It was an eerie place, man.
You sent me the picture. I'm looking at it, and I thought this must be at 2 in the morning or something like that.
Sun's up. It's 3 p.m. Now, later that night, it was literally the switch went from off to on, like it goes in the bedroom. You know, you turn the light on at midnight, June 4th. The place was jammed, bananas. I mean, you couldn't even walk around. So it was crazy to see that place be, super empty. And then all of a sudden, all these casinos, not only downtown, but you had several casinos on the Strip, begin to open back up. The lights go back on, and pretty much back to normal.
Okay. So the before picture is because, in fact, they weren't open. But when they did, the people were there. So what was it like then inside the casinos and restaurants and stuff, the hotels?
Well, everybody that works in the casino, for the most part, has a mask on. There's sanitizer pretty much every 6 feet. A lot of gloves, a lot of glass screens. And the strangest part about the casino business is that you are no longer pretty much able to touch your cards. You can't blow on the dice. You're not shuffling your chips. A lot more precaution to, spreading germs from all the things that we're used to touching. How about the positions at a blackjack table? Pretty much cut in half. I walked through, the roulette and blackjack and crap sections, and you're talking about only 3 people at a given table. So trying to cut down the amount of people in a very small area. But they're gambling, they're betting, they're eating, they're drinking, and they're having fun in Vegas.
So despite all of that, it's still fun, right? I mean, does the dealer have a mask on?
Oh, the dealer's got a mask and a shield for the most part. I saw this quote, a guy who writes for a website called Vital Vegas. He used this quote. I thought it was pretty good. People aren't being reckless. They just aren't as paranoid as I'd expected.
Well, if I can't touch, I can touch my cards, he's going to deal me a hand, right?
Well, a lot of the tables now, you're not able to even touch the card, depending on the game you play.
Well, excuse me, but how do I know what my hand is if I can't? How do you play if you can't touch the cards?
Well, in blackjack, you never touch your cards anyway. You're not supposed to touch your cards. You're talking about playing. You're talking about playing poker. Poker rooms are still closed.
So you just stand there and they take your money.
Pretty much.
Which is, I guess, how it used to be anyway. And then if I'm rolling dice, I can't. Do I touch the dice?
Some of them you had to wear gloves to roll dice. It's a prop by prop shop here, King. Not all rules are equal. I believe one table no gloves were needed to roll the dice, but you couldn't, like somebody went to blow on the dice and was pretty much tackled by security. So rules are different. Read your house rules before you go in and gamble. But this is good news because it means eventually a lot of these businesses inside Illinois are going to open back up. We don't have an exact date from the state of Illinois, from the gaming board, but it looks like we're talking about casinos opening back up this summer,
right?
For your chance to gamble in Illinois. And no buffets, by the way. Buffets are done. Buffets are dead in Vegas.
That was my next question. So that's a big feature. I can get a cocktail, I guess, but the buffets in the casinos are down.
Buffets are down. Also, interestingly enough, limits are up. A lot of these minimum limits have gone up. So for those of you that like to walk up to a table and play, $10 whatever, some of those minimums have been doubled. Now it's $20 per hand or $25 per hand because the casinos, let's be real, they've been losing money and they have to find a way to chip into that.
What about the slot machines?
Slot machines about the same. Pretty much, they've taken a lot of the slots out. So instead of having now 6 slots in a row, you maybe have slot, break, slot, break, slot, break. Instead of 6 positions, you're down to 3 positions. In the sports book, they've removed every other chair. So they are seriously taking the social distancing to a different level. Like you can't all, pack into a room or pack around a table or pack at a slot bank. They are doing their best to make sure that you are 6 feet away from somebody at all times.
I'm going to ask you about what people are betting on, though, because there's no sports. You did give me the odds on a couple of interesting things in a minute. But before we do that, George had a question or comment. Hey, George, you're on WGN.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Good. What's up?
Yeah, I work in a casino, and I'm kind of nervous about going back to work. Number one, everybody's going to have masks on, okay? You come up, I'm working a main turnstile, you come up to me, and I got to look at you and go, are you 21? So what do you do then? You pull out an ID, so I'm touching your ID, or else, there are people that are barred from there, and we got to look at their face in order to see if they're barred or not. So what do we do with them, And plus, two, like you was just saying, they're still playing card games and everything, and, there's a lot of contact.
Where do you work? Are you in Joliet?
Yeah.
And how old are you?
69.
That's what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I know. I will go back to work, granted, but I won't be comfortable. And I've talked to a couple of my buddies, and we all pretty much feel the same way.
What do you say to this guy, Sam?
Well, I understand his concern. I'm not in his shoes. I'm not there every day, and I'm not dealing with thousands of people. If you work a 10-hour shift or a 12-hour shift, you're dealing with a lot of people. I do know that they were taking temps on a lot of those that were entering the building, but you're not going to get everybody that way, and there are several entrances to every casino. But I think the more we learn about the virus and the amount of people that keep going down as far as who has it, I think eventually we'll go back to normal. I could be wrong, but I certainly understand his concerns.
Yeah. What's the date? Did they have give you one? Have they, George?
No, not at all. I've heard. I know Indiana's opening up next week, but I've heard no dates yet. I talked to one of my supervisors, and he wasn't sure. He hasn't heard anything. IGB still hasn't given us any idea at all. But I think that I thought we had to have, in order to have 50 people or more, we had to have a vaccine.
That's an interesting point. Or is that just stage 4? You make.
I lose track because the phases and stages are different in every state, so I lose my mind. There are 10 in Illinois. They have to submit a plan on how they will deep clean all of their facilities, how they will outfit their employees with protective equipment, and how they will keep all gamblers safely distanced. At least we have that, right? That's a good place to start.
Thanks for the call, George, and good luck to you. I know somebody said on this radio station yesterday that they're going to use a different set of die on each roll and a different deck of cards for every hand, that every time they play. Pete McMurray was talking about this over the weekend, that they're just going to be going through cards and die left and right. I don't know if they're going to sanitize the die afterwards, but you will not touch anything more than once is what it sounds like. And if I'm an employee, that's a concern of mine. So we'll see how it goes. By the way, Sam, so I said you can't bet on sports. What are they wagering on the big screens there?
Well, in Vegas, it's still the foreign soccer. I did see actually earlier this morning that we will have Major League Soccer. That'll be starting here in America July 8th. How about Major League Baseball potentially in July, NBA July 31st, and then hockey and NFL in August. But the big sports right now in Vegas are Russian table tennis. That's number one. And then number two, I believe, is one of the foreign soccer leagues. Also very popular, horse racing is actually seen a big explosion in their handle and their hold. So those are the three right now that are major. But we have to talk about the political odds, right? I mean, why else am I here?
You sent me what the odds are. This is, look, I don't know who to turn to if I want a prognostication about politics, because the polls could be wrong and so on and so forth. But I just do think it's compelling that people will say, okay, I'll put my money on this, right? So that says something about someone's conviction. And you sent me who the odds-on favorites are to be the Democratic vice presidential candidate. Who's leading in the polls on that?
It's still Kamala Harris. So she's still favored in the global markets. This is not a bet you can make in America. You have to go to England or one of the Central American countries. You can't make these bets in America, but you can make them all over the world. And it's a very popular market, let me tell you that. And these are not, like you said, based on opinion. These are based on your money coming into a pool. So Kamala Harris out of California is the favorite. She's minus 140, which says she has about a 58% chance. That's what the numbers imply. And that means to win $100 on Kamala Harris, you have to bet 140. But there are two candidates right now that are skyrocketing up this board, and you probably know at least one of them. Val Demings, who's a congresswoman out of Florida, and she was the chief of police in Orlando. She's now 4-1. She came out of nowhere. She wasn't even on these sheets about a month ago. And then the second candidate who's really interesting is the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was about 80-1 3 weeks ago. She's now 12-1. So 100 on Lance Bottoms makes you $1,200. I also find it hilarious that the first male on this ticket is Barack Obama. I mean, I think the first 9 or 11 candidates are all women, and a lot of them are minority. So it's right now Harris, Demings, Klobuchar, Abrams, Warren, Lance Bottoms, and then Michelle Obama. Those are your heavy hitters right now.
I don't think Barack Obama is eligible to run for vice president, is he?
No, he can be vice president, but then if there was something that happened to the president, they'd have to go to, I believe, the Senate president. In other words, he can't ascend.
Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Speaker of the House, right. But he can't be the president again. Wow. He can be the vice president.
How interesting. Okay, so then you go Michelle Obama, Susan Rice, Tammy Duckworth, Lujan Grisham, Hillary Clinton, Tammy Baldwin, Barack Obama, Cory Booker, Tulsi Gabbard. Odds to win the presidency. Currently, Vegas says Biden is up on Trump. What's the margin there? What's the spread?
Yeah, it's pretty small, but Biden is minus 140. Remember, Trump was minus 120 at the end of May. So this has been about a 60-cent swing in favor of the donkeys. Donald Trump now plus 110. I don't say donkey literally. I just, you know what I'm saying. Yep. So Biden minus 140. That says he's got a 58% chance right now. Trump is plus 110. Then Hillary, 16-1. And the Andrew Cuomo train has completely gone back to the station. He's now about 50-1. We saw him about 15 or 20-1 a couple of weeks ago, but he's down the page here. It's still a 1-2 punch. Biden minus 140, Trump 1 plus 10. Very close to even money on both ends. So it's going to be a rock'em sock'em thing, and I wonder how these odds are going to fluctuate during the debates. I can't wait to see what those numbers do when we get there.
Sam Panayotovich follows sports wagering, and wagering generally. I'll talk to you again, Sam. Always fun. Always fun. I'm glad you were able to join us today.
Let's do it again soon, King.
That's Sam Panayotovich. I used to say I want to be king someday. I don't say that so much anymore.
It is 79 degrees at 11:30. Good morning. I'm Steve Bertrand. This news sponsored by Lindemann Chimney Heating and Cooling. The FOP tells Chicago police officers not to kneel with protesters, at least not while in uniform. First, to look at traffic. Here's Mary Vandeveld.
Some flooded conditions on 8094 westbound between Grant and the Illinois-Indiana state line. Also eastbound between Torrance and Klein. Metro Electric train 120 due in at 1212 is stopped due to some track construction work. In Mettawa, power lines are down at Bradley and Old Old School in Addison. Watch for an accident at Army Trail and Swift. Another in Lake Forest at Town Line and Waukegan. Northbound I-65 entrance ramp at 109th still closed until June 16th. Mary Vanderveld, WGN Traffic Central.
The forecast from the Permaseal Weather Center, partly sunny today. The showers and storms could come around again later, but mostly they're out of the way. Out a high of 82. Tonight, a chance of an evening shower or storm. Clouds decreasing overnight, low 58, and then mostly sunny and 81 degrees tomorrow. Checking the current conditions right now at O'Hare, it is 79. Midway reporting 78, 73 at Chicago's Lakefront. The president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police says the union will punish uniformed officers who kneel in solidarity with protesters. He says that breaks the fraternal nature of the union. The Minneapolis police chief is withdrawing contract negotiations with the Minneapolis Police Federation union to help rebuild the department following the death of George Floyd. He said that what the city needs now more than ever is a pathway that provides actionable measures for reform. And it looks like Dyer, Indiana was the hardest hit by this morning's line of strong thunderstorms. 2-inch diameter hail there and more damage from wind. Some areas got up to 2 inches of rain in just 30 minutes. Your money on WGN. The Dow is down 141 points, the NASDAQ up 61, and the S&P 500 down 6. I'm Steve Bertrand on Chicago's very own 720 WGN.
Thank you, Steve Bertrand. It's 11:33. Dr. Kevin Most joins us frequently on this station. He's a regular on Bob Surratt's show, Monday morning. And every now and then we've got a question for the Chief Medical Officer at Northwestern Medicine Central DuPage Hospital. Dr. Most, thanks for coming on again. How are you?
You're welcome, John. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Steve Bertrand described it as a kerfuffle.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it.
Well, but there's this controversy now, and it is about, there were two things that we were going to talk about, right, Steve? One was the transmissibility, but
whether you are, if you are asymptomatic, can you transmit it? But they sort of left out the possibility of pre-symptomatic.
Right, so there was the suggestion that if you're asymptomatic, you actually are not contagious. Can you talk to us about that, Doc?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, the wording that came out, and you saw how quickly, when the wording came out yesterday, how quickly the retraction was made today, or at least an attempt to explain that was misspoken. So as Steve just said, pre-symptomatic versus asymptomatic. In other words, I'm asymptomatic. Right now I have no symptoms whatsoever. And for 2 to 5 days before I get symptoms, I can still be shedding and spreading this virus. So that's the unfortunate thing. Now, they kind of backtracked a little bit to try to say, well, a lot of those people that we said are asymptomatic actually had some mild symptoms, whether it be a light cough or a fever or congestion. But really, the biggest thing is the pre-symptomatic before the asymptomatic was the key. And we know that asymptomatic can. Matter of fact, if you look at the CDC, they're looking at, 40% of these infections are being spread by asymptomatics.
Okay, so let's just do them one at a time. I'm asymptomatic, meaning I have COVID-19, but it's mild in my case. I don't demonstrate many symptoms. I am contagious, correct?
Correct. So you have the disease. It's in your throat. The volume, the viral load is high enough that so when you're speaking or you're coughing or sneezing or singing, you are spreading virus and you are infectious.
And I may not, and in this case, I'm asymptomatic, so I don't even know that I have it. I think I'm fine. I'm spreading it left and right. If
Correct.
I'm pre-symptomatic, it might look and feel the same. That is, I have the virus, but the symptoms haven't emerged in me, but they will. I'm going to be in bad shape. But I look, in a way, like I'm asymptomatic. I'm pre-symptomatic. Am I contagious then?
Yes, you are, for 2 to 5 days before. Now, the interesting thing is the individuals who are pre-symptomatic and then become symptomatic, those are the ones that the contact tracing is much easier, right? Oh, now you have symptoms. Now you've tested positive. Tell us who you've been around. Our problem is we don't know how many asymptomatic are out there to do any even contact tracing to see where this has spread. We have many patients that come in and we say, we can't figure out where you got this from. We don't know where the spread came, where it impacted you. They were obviously impacted by either someone who's asymptomatic or they ran across someone who is symptomatic that wasn't using precautionary measures.
Well, doctor, you're saying then that both are contagious, are you not?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm saying anybody who does not have symptoms but tests positive for the virus can still spread the virus. Now, her comments were, I think, misinterpreted, or she misspoke, where she was saying it is very rare. You can't say something's very rare when you don't know how many people actually have it that are spreading it. So it was a comment that if we knew how many asymptomatic people were out there, then we could say that. But without knowing what that number is, it's a guess.
Was she suggesting, though, that if you have the disease but you aren't showing the symptoms yet, you're pre-symptomatic, that you're not contagious during that period of time? No?
No. If you are asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic, in other words, I have the illness, it is replicating in my body, and eventually I'm going to get to a point where I am going to have symptoms. It might be 2 to 5 days from now. I still have virus that I can spread, but my body is going to sustain a response of some type, whether it be fever to fight this off, whether it's a cough because I have additional congestion. Those individuals certainly are probably highly infectious for 2 to 5 days beforehand, and then when they have symptoms, they're even more infectious.
Well, then she shouldn't have said nothing.
She shouldn't have, because we don't know. We don't know how many asymptomatic people are out there. Because unfortunately, her comments now make everyone believe, well, why are we all wearing masks?
Well, it was mana to people who were anxious to get out. They were using this as fuel for their fire.
Correct. And John, look what's happened now. We have 20 states who are seeing increasing numbers of not tests, because I want to be really careful that what we're saying. We're seeing 20 states that have opened up a little bit and are seeing increasing number of hospitalizations, not tests, because we know the number of positive tests is going to go up. Our concern is when we're starting to see states reopen, restore all the states, restore the economy. Now we're seeing the hospitalizations start to increase when we had seen a significant decrease.
I think we passed along some inaccurate information yesterday during the Wintrust Business Lunch when we were talking about how Texas is seeing a spike, but that they haven't seen a spike in hospitalizations. In fact, they've seen a spike in both, as high as ever in the last few days, and obviously they were early to open up. So here comes their second wave, right?
That is the absolute concern. You know, like we said, when we were looking at the number of positive tests, when were we looking at it? When it was very difficult to get a test, when we could only test individuals in hospital settings. You know, now look at the states open it where we will test anybody. Hospitals now have increased capacity to do a lot of testing. So certainly we're going to find those percentage of people who are asymptomatic carriers. So don't look at that number, but look at the number of hospitalizations. You have some states that were really doing well that are creeping up towards 76% of their ventilators and ICUs being back full. Those are the numbers that should be concerning people.
But still, we always knew that when we started to open up, there would be an increase in hospitalizations, correct?
Yeah, we knew it would. Steve, it has to, right? I mean, just common sense would tell you, because we know the virus isn't gone. So we knew there would be an increase in hospitalizations. The matter is how much. Because as we had flattened the curve and we knew that we had plenty of ICU beds and plenty of hospital beds and plenty of ventilators, we never got to the point of New York or Italy. But look at what's happening now as we're starting to see these numbers creep back up. And now you're going to start stressing the system, not in certain hotspots, but potentially over 20 or 30 states.
But the implication may be for Texas or anybody else who wants to play this game, fair enough. The rates will go up, and their threshold is higher than ours. They are willing to accept higher incidence and higher death rates in the name of opening the economy. You might not like that, doctor. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what the appropriate number of deaths and infections is to allow, but that's the calculation these governors are having to make. And I don't know what Texas thinks about this. The people down there may be saying, yeah, it's a fair trade. You know, what we're doing is we're indicting their decision because the rates have gone up, when in fact that may be a fair calculation on their part.
That's possible, John. And look at what Sweden decided to do, and now look at the countries that surround Sweden and the rates that they have versus the potential that Sweden's saying we're going to get enough to have herd immunity. That seems to have backfired quite a bit. And if we look at the United States and we say, hey, Texas, that's the decision that they wanted to make. Well, unfortunately, we don't have borders around our states, and with free travel, what happens in Texas is unfortunately going to go elsewhere.
What happens in Texas does not stay in Texas. Cheryl had a question for you, and I'm glad you called, Cheryl. What was your question for Dr. Kevin Most?
Yes, thanks for taking my call. It's another bit of confusion. So I've heard that now it isn't transmitted from hard surfaces. Is that true or not?
Well, Cheryl, the chance of it being transmitted by hard surfaces is extremely low, and we've discussed this in a couple ways, and I'll try to discuss it again quickly. The chance of you touching, let's say you have the illness and you cough on a hard surface, the chance of someone else coming up, touching where you coughed, touching their face, and the amount of time that the virus can live on that hard surface and the viral load needed is very low. So we're really finding that the vast majority of these transmissions are from person to person, and we should be somewhat concerned about keeping our environment clean, but we're much more important that we're wearing masks and doing physically distancing than we are wiping down our groceries after we go to the grocery store.
You understand how that's changed then over the last several weeks?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We were paranoid about it previously, now not so much.
Correct. That's the amazing thing about this, and I talk to my doctors all about it all the time, saying, doctors are we going to start to lose our credibility? And I'm saying, no, I don't think we are, because we're seeing the science change, and as long as we continue to explain how the changes are occurring, then we'll continue with our credibility. But boy, this is brave new world for all of us.
You're a great example of that, Doctor. I think hydroxychloroquine is an example of that, too. I was on board. Regardless of what the president thought, I had friends tell me it saved them. Now I believe otherwise. I've been learning with the rest of you.
Yeah, and John, I hate to say it, but have you looked at what's happened with hydroxychloroquine in the last few days, where there was a retraction of a medical journal, both Lancet and New England Journal, because of faulty data that was given. So now we're back at the drawing board saying, wait, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet has had its problem in the past, but New England Journal of Medicine has been something that's been a Bible to us as far as if it's in there, that was well studied and validated, and now we're seeing a study that hasn't been.
I have to take a break, Doctor, and I know you're busy. Do you have time for a couple more calls, or should we say goodbye to you right now?
No, I got a couple more calls, John. It's my lunchtime, so I'm good.
Appreciate you spending it with us. We'll continue in a minute. The American Lung Association is here to help you through the COVID-19 pandemic with science-based information you can trust. They have resources on protecting lung health, especially for those with lung disease, medical experts to answer your questions, webinars, and online communities. Visit lung.org to stay informed about COVID-19 and lung health. And while you're there, if you're able, your donation to their life-saving mission is needed now more than ever. Visit lung.org.
Is COVID-19 causing concerns about getting medical care when you need it? With telehealth, it's easy to safely connect with experts at North Shore University Health System. Telehealth and e-visits offer care online or on the phone without leaving home. From primary care to consulting with a specialist for serious issues. And for in-person visits, we're practicing the latest safety protocols. Get the care you need now at North Shore, online, on the phone, or in person. Visit northshore.org/telehealth.
11:45. Early morning. Stay safe and connected with Morgan Kochmeyer's weather forecast and Sarah Ginder's traffic reports. Weekdays from 4 to 6 on WGN TV Morning News. As Illinois reopens, everyone's required to wear masks when going out if you can't socially distance. Chicago-based EW Masks has you covered. EWMasks.com. EWMasks.com has a comprehensive selection of face masks at great prices, volume discounts. Don't be fooled by other companies making outrageous claims. EW Masks follows strict regulations regarding the masks set forth by the FDA. Whether you're an employee and you need to buy in bulk for your customers or employees, or maybe just a responsible individual, make sure you have your protective EW mask every time you go out. We just had some sent to us yesterday, and I slipped one on, and I thought this thing was the most comfortable mask I have worn yet. And by the way, they've got curbside pickup available. You can order right now and pick them up at 1317 West North Avenue in Chicago. Start by going to ewmasks.com. They've got you covered. A couple more minutes with Dr. Kevin Most over at Central DuPage Hospital. Say it again, Producer Elif. You whispered in my ear the jokes we will get to in just a moment. We're talking to Kevin Most right now. Just a couple more questions for you. Is that okay, Doc?
Absolutely, John.
Kathy had a question. You're on WGN. Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, hi, Dr. Most. Thanks for taking my call. Actually, I have a comment and not a question.
Okay.
I had a COVID test because I was having surgery, and I did not pass it. I had no symptoms. It was a total shock. But when I called my husband's doctor's office to see if they would get him in to be tested, they said since I was asymptomatic, he did not need to be tested. I could not give it to him. I just thought that was horrifying that a medical office would pass on that information.
Interesting. Doc, your comment on that?
Yeah, and Kathy, I don't know when this occurred and how long ago it occurred, but, we really want to make sure that we're checking the asymptomatic people and the people they come in contact. Now, you, in contact with your husband, that would be one that we'd really want to know more about, and does he have it now, and is he spreading it potentially? So as we start to see these asymptomatic and we start to do contact tracing, we're going to be looking for individuals not only who have symptoms, but also individuals who you've come in contact who they may now be asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic.
Glad you called, Kathy. Thank you. Another Kathy said she had the symptoms in January. Kathy, you're on the air. How are you?
Hi, good. Quick question. Everybody thought I was nuts saying around January 16th, I started having a bad cough, could barely make it to work. Needless to say, the next week, I was pretty much out of work. I had a fever.
Were you tested? Were you tested, Kathy?
Pardon?
Were you tested?
I was never tested because in January, this was all evolving.
I understand.
Now.
Okay, now hold on. But your question for the doctor, I see what you asked Elif, and let's get right to it is, am I immune now if I thought I had it before, Kevin?
So, Kathy, the big thing for you now to discuss with your doctor is to have the serology testing, not the virology. So we don't want to test you for the virus right now. We want to test your blood to see if you have antibodies. That will show us one of two things. One, it'll show us that, yes, you had it, and do you have what we call the IgG antibody? In other words, the antibody that is developed long term. Or, no, you didn't have it, and you probably just had bad influenza. Now, will that give you long-term protection? If you're positive right now, you're the ones that we want to know about, because come the fall when we start to see a resurgent, we want to see if this antibody gives you protection. We don't know that yet, but that's going to be the basis for a lot of our vaccines as well. So very important times coming up for those who thought they had it, got tested, had the blood test that shows that they did have it, and now what happens the next time they may be exposed to it.
Kathy, good luck. I guess that answers your question sort of, right? Tracy, you're on the air. How are you?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. My husband just got his results back yesterday morning, and he's positive. And he's had congestion and cough and fever, and he's not that bad. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of a flu. He's not that bad. How contagious am I? I feel fine. What precautions do I need to do?
Yeah, it's more how contagious is he. So he's very contagious, and if you have been around him, there's a good possibility that he exposed you to this. Two things can happen to you. You can either go on and get similar symptoms, you could potentially be asymptomatic, or you potentially won't get infected at all. So there's three options. The chance of you getting not exposed at all is extremely low. If he's in the same house with you and he's been in this house at that period of time, so for you probably are asymptomatic or you're going to be early in the infection, but there's a good possibility that you are infected and you would be infectious.
Okay, and then now my second question. All right, so he's had it, we figure maybe 5 or so days. Okay, are we waiting for like the ball to drop? Is it going to get worse? Or could the worst be behind us already? Or how does that going to work?
You're speaking about you and your husband, like how
my husband, my husband.
And you're wondering how badly you're going to feel? Is that your question?
Yeah, how bad will it get worse for him?
Yeah, no, hold on a second. We're short of time, and that's a great question. Doctor?
Yeah, so if he's at day 5, day 6, we expect it really to peak at about day 5, 6, 7. Now, if he has no other comorbidities, he's not a diabetic, he's not any heart disease or asthma or COPD, chances are that he's going to fight his way through this, as we know that 80% of people, 85% of people can. But will it get worse? It really depends on him and his immune system. So for you, I would start looking for symptoms and really start to do everything you can. Make sure you're getting exercise, sleep, vitamins. You want your immune system to be as tuned up as possible right now, as you are probably have been exposed to this.
How can you avoid it? Tom Hanks got it. Rita Wilson got it. Idris Elba got it. His wife got it. Boris Johnson got it. His girlfriend got it. My friend got it. My friend's husband got it. She got it. I mean, if you're sharing a space, it's almost impossible to avoid.
Correct. Especially if you have symptoms and you're sharing a space.
Yeah. Okay, we are out of time. Dr. Kevin Most over at, where do you work, Doctor? Northwestern Medicine, Central DuPage Hospital. I've got it memorized. Chief Medical Officer over there. Enjoy your lunch. We'll call you again soon, Doctor. Thanks for joining us.
You got it, John. Take care.
He's on a break and able to join us. By the way, he's on with Bob Surratt every Monday morning, and we should call him more often. Every time I talk to him, I feel a little smarter, if not a little better. You know what I mean?
It helps with the neighborhood conversations when we go back.
It kind of does. Why? Because we've got more information?
Well, Dr. Most said this, right, exactly.
He is the Dr. Fauci of Chicago, Illinois. We sure appreciate his time here at WGN Radio. We do at 9:30, 8 or so each morning, something we call speed jokes to kind of lighten the load. I think it's the same reason that folks are flocking to the Sinatra Show of Music Sunday mornings, and why we're going to play a little music Sunday nights from 9 to 11. I'll host the Great American Songbook Sunday Standards on WGN. But until then, let's just replay our speed joke segment from earlier today. Someone also wrote to us yesterday and said, "Hey, John Williams, yesterday you said I accidentally rubbed ketchup in my eyes, and the punchline was, now I have hindsight. But I got out the yellow jar of French's. I mustard not heard you right."
That's good.
Remember listener Lynn, whose joke we have not told because it was deemed by the High Commission of Speed Jokes to be not sufficiently funny?
Yeah.
She wrote again. She said, "Thanks a lot, John. Hindsight? That's better? Really?" I wrote her back and said, "Lynn, tell me one more joke, and I will read the better of the two." And she wrote back to say, "Well, now you're putting me on the spot. What's wrong with my first goat joke? Okay, here's another one. If no one else likes it, at least Dave Ennett should."
Oh.
Lynn, you made the cut. This is from our friend Lynn. Man and a dog walk into a bar, and the guy says, "My dog can talk, and if I can prove it, I want you to buy me a beer." The bartender says, "You're on." Guy says, "What's on top of a house?" And the dog goes, "Roof." Guy says, "How does sandpaper feel?" The dog goes, "Rough." Guy goes, "Who's the greatest baseball player of all time?" The dog says, "Ruth." Bartender says, "Are you kidding me? I'm not buying you a beer." And he throws him out. Sitting on the curb, the dog says to the man, "DiMaggio?" Ancient Roman gets a sex change operation. His name is now
Julius Caesar.
Nope.
Seize him.
Nope. His name is now Ben-Hur.
Oh, come on.
What did the coach say to the cows? Now get out there and give me 2%.
I like that.
I went fishing the other day and dropped my wallet in the water. Carp came by and swallowed it. Then a bigger carp came by and swallowed the first carp. It's the first time I've ever seen carp-to-carp walleting. We got some wood jokes. Some woodchuck jokes sent in from Mary in Rockford. She writes, "Hey, John, where do woodchucks like to go on vacation?" Chicago. How do they get there? Chuck wagons. Where do they eat when they finally arrive in Chicago? Well, they like to go to Chick-fil-A or Kentucky Fried Chicken. Uh-oh, they can't pay. They forgot their Chuck books. How do they pass the time? They like to play chuckers. What do they do when they hear John Williams speed jokes? They
chuckle.
They chuckle. You guys, you can tell that Monopoly's an old game. There's free parking, a luxury tax, and the rich people actually go to jail. I met an old guy on the bench the other day. He was crying. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I just married a beautiful woman, half my age. She's wonderful, very affectionate, cooks wonderfully. We like the same movies." I said, "What's the matter?" The guy said, "I forgot where I live." And finally, hey, John Williams, my 10-year-old Leon is a big fan of your speed jokes. He wanted you to have these. Well, thanks for the jokes, Leon. They're terrific. And one of his goes this way. How many soccer players does it take to change a light bulb? I don't know, but it would be a lot less if they could use their
touching hands.
Their hands. See a bunch of soccer players trying to screw in a light bulb with their feet. Well, that's not going to be very easy. All together now. Everybody sing with Leon and Neb. Here we go. We play the we play speed jokes for you each morning at 9:38, a new batch. And then we replay them in the 11 o'clock hour if I remember to. You can always hear them and share them with your friends. Go to WGNradio.com/speed jokes. You can email them to John Williams at WGNradio.com. Interesting news. Steve just whispered a story in my ear. He'll get to it after this.
Hi, it's Bob Surratt. I didn't want a 9 to 5 job, so I'm here 5 to 9. See you mornings, Monday through Friday.
Your town, your sound, your very own WGN.
Chicago, welcome to More Than Enough Reason with Geico. You're barely 100 yards into that 10K you never actually trained to run.
How many miles we in?
You have more than enough reason to call it quits, but not today. You're in it to win it.
Takes a little willpower.
You've also got more than enough reason to switch to Geico, because Geico offers emergency roadside service, and they give you access to agents 24/7, unlike the access you wish you had to an off-ramp from this 10K.
Gonna drop the pace a skosh.
And while you regret not getting access to a decent training program, at least you've got access to Geico's handy mobile app that lets you easily file a claim or pay your bill.
Way to go, Geico.
So, Chicago, even if your run has turned into a wobbly, sideways shuffle, you should know Geico helps with homeowners, renters, and condo insurance through the Geico Insurance Agency, too. That should be enough to make it over the finish line. Then on to saving even more with Geico by covering your boat, RV, and motorcycle.
Geico. More reasons than ever to switch today over the phone at your local office or at geico.com.
Building means getting things done with help from partners. Woodland Windows and Doors celebrates 50 years building relationships that get things done. Remodelers, builders, and architects turn to the dedicated Woodland Trade commercial team for a variety of window and door brands, designer services, and quick turnaround estimates. Historic renovations, new construction, or commercial, Woodland does it all. For 5 decades, Woodland has served building professionals, and they thank you for that. Contractor special discount through June. 630-503-6341. See woodlandwindows.com.
2 years from now, got any plans? I don't. But 2-year contracts make you plan around them anyway. What's even happening tomorrow? At WOW, we give contracts the modern touch by not having them. With us, not only do you get our super fast Internet 200 for a ridiculously low $44.99 a month, but you'll also get safe, simple, contact-free installation. Sign up today at Wowway.com. Wow. Limited offer for new customers with autopay and paperless billing. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Things are looking up, Chicagoland. Lindemann Chimney Heating and Cooling represents the safest, best trained staff in the industry. For 50 years, they've been making beautiful homes like yours safe and sound. Book at cleanfireplace.com.
Serving the great Midwest from Chicago, this is WGN at AM 720 on your radio and on smart devices anywhere just by saying play WGN Radio on TuneIn.
WGN Chicago.
A Nexstar Media Group station.
It is 79 degrees at 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Bertrand. The news is sponsored by Builders Supply Outlet. An outside monitor says the Justice Department engaged in an abuse of power in moving to vacate the conviction of Michael Flynn. On Wall Street, the markets are mixed so far today. First, a look at traffic. Here's Lauren Lepka.
And this report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. Most of the major roadways look pretty good. There is flooding on I-80-94 East, blocking the left lane around Klein. And on the westbound side, some flooding near the Illinois-Indiana state line. On I-65 North, the entrance ramp at 109th is closed for road work until June 16th. Right now on the south side, Cottage Grove Avenue is still closed between 72nd and 71st because of an earlier fatal accident. And in Riverside Road is closed northbound between Blooming Bank and Pine for work on the railroad tracks. Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. They help millions of people like you get privacy online without any trade-offs. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified. Lauren Lapka, WGN Traffic Central.
The forecast from the WGN Chicago Weather Center. Here's meteorologist Mike Jansen.
A few spotty storms will continue to be possible for a while this evening, and then overnight our clouds decrease with temperatures dropping into the upper 50s. More sunshine tomorrow. Looks like temperatures making their way into the upper 70s to lower 80s on Thursday afternoon. Could be a little breezy